Health and social care services are provided within a society which is becoming increasingly more diverse. Services can be provided in people's own homes, in supported living, or in residential care, and residents and service users increasingly come from a variety of backgrounds and cultures. As a care worker, it is important that you understand the ways in which you can promote equality, diversity and inclusion for everyone that you care for. Equality, diversity and inclusion are words which are frequently used in the standards that care workers and care services are expected to meet. All managers and care workers need to really think about the services they provide and the care that they give, and ensure that an equal care service is provided to every current, future and potential resident and service users. Throughout this training session, we will be looking at what these words mean and why they're really important aspects of providing a good care service. Equality is about fairness of opportunity, diversity is about acknowledging difference, and inclusion is about making sure that people feel included. Inclusion has been described as a sense of belonging, feeling respected and valued for who you are. Understanding how you can best do this for each resident will help you to provide the best possible care. To always promote equality, diversity and inclusion in your work setting. Over the past few decades, there have been a number of different pieces of legislation to help create a more equal society. The right not to be discriminated against on grounds of sex, race, colour, language, religion, political or other opinion, national or social origin, association with a national minority, property, birth, or other status. The Human Rights Act is clear about people's rights not to be discriminated against. You should have heard of other laws preventing discrimination, such as the Race Equality Act and the Sex Discrimination Act. The Equality Act is the latest piece of legislation that tries to pull together these and other laws preventing discrimination into one new act. It also introduces some important changes. The Equality Act describes the types of personal characteristics that are likely to make people more subject to discrimination and makes it clear that discrimination, victimization and harassment based on these personal characteristics is illegal. This training session will help you to work and think in a way which supports the Equality Act and ensures that you are promoting best practice with regard to equality, diversity and inclusion.
I want all staff to make sure that the way we carry out our work isn't disadvantaging any of the residents. You'll all need to understand the principles of the new Equality Act, and we may need to amend some people's care plans in order to make them clearer and make one or two other changes as well.
But if equality means treating everyone the same, we do that here now anyway, don't we? So what difference is it going to make to us now?
Equality isn't really about treating everyone the same, because that doesn't always meet everyone's individual needs. In a care setting, what you really have to do is work out the differing needs of all the residents and make sure that the care plans, the care given, the policies and practice equally meet the needs of all the residents.
The Equalities Act 2010 describes certain factors that are known to be more likely to cause discrimination, harassment or victimization to certain groups. The Equality Act describes these as protected characteristics. It means that the care provided and access to care services must be seen to be provided to an equal standard for all residents. The protected characteristics are age, disability, pregnancy and maternity, gender reassignment, marriage and civil partnership, race, religion or belief, sex, sexual orientation. The Equality Act 2010 provides a new legal framework to protect the rights of individuals and advance equality of opportunity for all. It is intended to protect individuals from unfair treatment and promote a fairer and more equal society. Residents must always be given the opportunity to state any specific needs they have which are included in the list of protected characteristics, and these needs must be stated and addressed in their care plan.
There's no point in you going to the activities session this afternoon. You wouldn't understand it properly, and I don't have time to go through it with you all again. It took so long last time.
Unlawful discrimination is about treating some people less favourably than others because of a protected characteristic, in this case a hearing impairment or disability. Discrimination can take a number of different forms. Direct discrimination occurs when someone is directly refused access to a service or treatment, and indirect discrimination occurs when the situation or circumstances significantly disadvantage somebody due to a protected characteristic. Not giving equal access to an activity because of a resident's particular need in this way is therefore discrimination. Later in the training session, we will see how these situations can be avoided.
Oh, I'm sorry we don't cater for halal diets here, but there is a home along the road. I know they do, and perhaps they may have some vacancies if that will help. Morris, you know you can't get through this way. It's much too narrow. You'll have to go the long way round to the lounge.
Not giving people equal right to access services is another form of discrimination. Equal access to services may include equal access to appropriate food, for example. Every effort should be made to cater for diverse cultural dietary needs, in the same way that specific diets would be provided for a person who had diabetes. Or equal access may mean physical access into or inside buildings. Later in this training session, you will learn how to overcome and appropriately challenge the types of discrimination shown in these scenes.
I've just been talking to the manager about the Equalities Act. Did you know that we've got to make sure that all our care plans take equal account of the residents' race, religion, gender, disability, sexual orientation, amongst others?
Why do we even need to think about the sexual orientation of residents, especially when working with older people?
I don't know.
We need to consider a whole range of needs and beliefs and what they may mean to the person we're caring for. If we don't take these things into consideration, we could be discriminating against residents. There may be many things that we are unaware of and have no right to know about, unless the resident wishes us to. However, that shouldn't cause us to think that everyone is the same and make assumptions about people. As care workers, it is often not appropriate to have detailed information about a person's past sexual history, but that doesn't mean we should make assumptions about people's sexuality. The carer here is surprised to learn that it is something which could have an impact on caring for residents. Her views are in fact prejudiced ones.
I don't know why Morris and Jeff are always going into Morris's room. They could sit in the quiet lounge. It's much nicer in there.
I expect they just want a little bit of privacy. And I think some of the other residents find it a bit hard to accept their relationship.
You mean his friend's really his partner? They're like a couple? But aren't they too old for that sort of thing?
The care worker here holds prejudiced views about Morris's sexuality, and feeling that strongly about something could lead her to discriminate against both Morris and his partner. According to current legislation, to assume that all current or future residents have only ever had or are having a heterosexual relationship is actually a prejudiced view. Much of the discrimination that people face is due to prejudice, or simply not thinking enough about the impact of our actions on others. If we have prejudices, we are less likely to treat people equally because we are not aware enough of people's different needs and beliefs and values. Discriminating against people in this way is illegal, as well as poor care practice. And certainly our own personal views and beliefs should not affect the way work is carried out with residents. To be really clear, let's take a look at what the words prejudice and discrimination mean. The word prejudice comes from Latin. It means prejudging. If we prejudge people, we're making an assumption about somebody before we have much knowledge about them. Discrimination is when our assumptions and prejudices lead to that person being disadvantaged. Prejudices describe our thoughts, and discrimination describes any unfair action we take against people. Stereotyping is when we make collective assumptions about people. Most stereotypes create a negative impression, which can cause us to act differently to that group of people or an individual that we associate with a particular group. Many stereotypes are insulting and simply not true. The more you get to know the individuals you are working with, you will have a better understanding of the things that are important to each individual and what makes him or her a unique individual. Discrimination is about treating some people less favourably than others. Reducing prejudice and stereotypical attitudes towards residents is an important step towards providing a fairer and more inclusive service.